How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Plumbing with Tim. It is an absolutely beautiful day to work on a toilet. All right, let's get the water out of that tank right there. Today we're going to be replacing the bolts and gasket inside of this toilet tank. We're going to try to remove the nuts. If not, we're going to have to cut them out with a sawzall. Look a little bit. Let's get the water out of that tank first. We have to remove these bolts that are in here. You can see a lot of rust happening. Couple things to keep in mind. If that whole thing spins, you got two choices. Either take a sawzall and cut it off up there in that area and remove it. In this case, I'm going to try to put a pair of needle nose vice grips up in there and get that nut to turn off. As I can see already, I'm having a hard time holding this because that whole thing is turning. This is tough. Get the vice grips on there. There we go. Come on. There she comes. If this doesn't work, like I said, I'm going to need to get saws all up in there to cut them, but this seems to be doing the trick to get that nut out of there. Oh, come on. Just a few more. Oh, that last couple tough. There we go. See? That's the first one. Okay, I need a wrench. But the bolt's not moving. The vice grip is doing the job. There we go. See that? A tight little space. I can't really get in here very much better. That's what I'm doing. Let's get that nut turned off there. There she goes. Alright. This way we didn't have to pull the sawzall out. Alright, that's what we're working with right here. I'm going to get this gasket and these bolts, and you can see where this thing's been leaking. All that rust and stuff. We want to clean this all up and get it ready to go. Not every single toilet tank with gaskets and stuff are universal. Say you get into like a Gerber or something else like that, or even one of the toilets that has oversized flappers and stuff. Those have bigger flush valves on there, but we're just talking about a standard size toilet, and we're going to be using a universal kit to make that repair. Let's go ahead and remove our gasket. You can see it's got dog ears on here. That's just, you know, whatever. But this is the kit we're using. It's Wolverine brass. It's a universal. It comes with the bolts, washers, nuts, all that stuff, as well as the tank, the bolt gasket. So that all gets replaced at one shot. Let's go ahead and flip this thing over and get it cleaned up. Oh, the goodies inside of there. See down there where we had the washers and all that stuff? We got to clean all that stuff out before we put our new bolts in there so it doesn't create a void and make it leak. You see what I'm seeing here? Let's zoom in there a few minutes. The flush valve, look at how bad that gasket's starting to look. That's not good. When you rub your finger on there, it leaves a mark on your finger. That means that thing's shot. And professional plumbers, we're not going to leave any kind of ticking time bomb in here. She has this out here, so that's getting replaced as well. Let's get that nut off there. Come on. There we go. I'll back that off by hand. Yeah, look at this flush valve. That gasket is shot. If I came out here just to do one thing of this toilet and ended up leaving this thing in here, my boss would have a conniption. All right, and my apprentice is in here cleaning the inside of the tank. And we'll get our part ready. All right, we're going to be using the Fluid Master Pro Series 2-inch flush valve to replace that old thing we took out. as well as I showed you the Wolverine brass universal tank to bowl gasket bolt kit. Look at the difference here. That valve on the left side is what came out of here, and this is the Fluidmaster Pro Series 2-inch fill valve. Look at the size difference in the standpipe. This is a water saver toilet. By putting this in, it's going to allow us to adjust our water level a little bit higher inside that tank, which will allow us to have a little bit more water to flush, which is what we want. So we're going to put this in next. All right, so if you look closely, we're going to take and put that flush valve in, but our end spot, we want that slightly turned center. Okay, so we're actually lining our chain up with a handle and stuff. Now we got that set in there the way it needs. We're going to go around the other side and put the nut on to hold this into place. All right, on with the nut. All right, before you snug this all the way down, you want to look back in that tank and make sure that that flush valve, excuse me, is in the proper position. Slightly off-centered, and our chain's going to line up with our handle. Now we know that's in the proper area. Let's go around, let's tighten that nut up from underneath. Nice and easy, you don't want to over-tighten anything. You don't want to break the porcelain. Just get it in there and get it nice and snug, because there is a washer, a gasket on the inside. We're just tightening that gasket up to the inside of the tank so we don't get any leaks. We take our bolts, we're going to put a little rubber washer on it, like so, on both of them. Slide it up there, see what we're working with. Yes, now from inside the tank, we're going to slide these down through these two holes, and then we're going to catch the bottom of it with a little brass washer, as well as a nut. And with one of them, and a second one, which is on the other side here, just like that. Hand tight it first. Second one. Time to snug these, and when I say snug, that's what we're doing, is snugging. Do not over tighten these. Metal on porcelain, and the metal is going to win every single time. You're just snugging these. Let that rubber washer that's on the inside do the work. We put the nuts on the bottom here so we don't go through what we had to when we took this tank off, because there was only one nut holding the bolts into the tank, and when I went to turn that nut inside, you saw everything spin. Now it's time for us to take this tank back inside and reinstall it. Okay, so before we reset this tank, we need to clean this mess up so we have no voids. We want this all nice and clean before we reset that. Next time you're working on the toilet, make sure to wear some protective gloves, and you can always use a little bit of this sand cloth to kind of clean things up with a rag and stuff. That's the best way of getting these things nice and clean. All right, on with the tank. Nice and easy. There she sits. Take your time. There we go. Now we have a taller standpipe. We're going to have to make some adjustments to the Fluidmaster to raise that up for water just a little bit. There we go. We've reinstalled a new tube holder. We're going to attach a new tube onto the Fluidmaster. Measure that and cut that there and attach it to the top. Something like that. Now we're going to adjust our length on our chain and attach it to our handle. All right, we're all set here in the tank. Nice adjustment. Let's get the water line attached and get some water up in this tank and check for leaks. All right, if you look closely at the stain mark that's in there, that's where the old water level was. We were able to achieve about another 2 or 3 inches of water in here. Let's go ahead and flush. Quick check for leaks. Everything looks good. Time to wrap this up. Hey, that's going to do it for this one. Thanks so much for hanging out and watching the video. What started off as being a simple tank to bowl gasket kit kind of change out. Being a professional plumber, when I open up and get involved in a toilet, if I see anything that looks like it could be a ticking time bomb, it's my responsibility to let the customer know ahead of time that these are things that we have to replace. Because if something fails after I leave, they're going to say, ah, Tim was there, and I'm going to end up getting a call back when I should have fixed that in the first place. This is a great way for you homeowners and do-it-yourself to replace those parts inside of your toilet. Not to mention, you have water-saving toilets such as this. You can upgrade it to something bigger when it comes to that flush valve and be able to put more water in that tank, which allows you to have a better flush. There's ways of doing that, and I just showed you how. Got any questions or comments, leave them down below, and don't forget to keep plumbing.